Hey, I'm Nathan Allen and I'm a saxophone player who lives in an apartment. If you live in an apartment as a saxophone player, you know exactly what I'm talking about when I say it's difficult to practice when you live in an apartment. So one thing that I've been trying to figure out is how I can practice when I need to and keep consistent with it all. It's been a real challenge, but I found a solution. So usually when people are muting saxophones, there are 3 different types of mutes that get looked at. The first type is the one that goes on the bell of the saxophone. I don't own one of those, so I'm going to save you the time and the effort, and I'll just let you know that muting your saxophone from the bell, not the best idea. On a saxophone, the sound comes out of all of the holes and not just the bell. So when it comes to muting the saxophone, you don't want to get one of those bell mutes. The next kind of mute that I want to tell you about might actually be the most effective way of muting the saxophone, and that is one of the mutes that cover the entire saxophone. The brand that I use is SaxMute One. It's very simple. It just covers the saxophone, keeps it quieter, and you can practice so fast. You don't have to fiddle with much. You just get your saxophone in there and you get to practicing. This is what a SaxMute One looks like for tenor sax. Okay, you can see it has latches on each side, and that's how you open it. You undo the latches and then you pull it apart. There are handles on each side as well. So it comes apart like that. Each side has studio foam inside. So really it just covers up the saxophone and makes it quieter. I'm going to show you how to set it up here. You take the side here that has a hole for the top of the saxophone. The saxophone goes in there on that side, and there's a little hook. And this is the same type of hook that goes on your neck strap, so that's how you hook the saxophone in. So you can see the tenor sax is in there. And you see there are holes at the side, so it's where your hands usually go when you're playing saxophone. You just put them there, and they fit right onto the keys. So you can play saxophone just like that. Usually I do this part on the ground so it's easier. So the last step was to put on the front cover and press the magnetic strips together so that it locks, and then you flip the latches for extra security. After that, you'll have a saxophone that you can hold by the handle grips, completely in a shell. So here it is. Sometimes I call this a stormtrooper saxophone just because of the shell. Some people call it an egg. Whatever you want to call it, that's cool. All I know is it makes the saxophone quieter, so that's cool with me. So it goes on with a harness, as you can see, and that just helps with the weight. So right now I just want to show you what things would sound like if you were using a SaxMute One or a WhisperRoom in your apartment. First of all, if you were using a SaxMute One and other people were in the apartment with you, it would sound something like this. So already that made the saxophone a lot quieter. You can just stay there, you can play your SaxMute One, get your quieter saxophone and just practice in your apartment just like that. If anyone's living in your apartment with you, they'll probably hear you and it might be too loud for them, but for your neighbors, they can probably only hear you a little bit. So it might be a solution for you to just use something like the SaxMute One because it does make the saxophone a lot quieter. The one downfall is that when a mute covers the saxophone, sometimes it makes your lower notes harder to get out. Sometimes you want to have your saxophone outside of the mute too, and for that reason, I like to use my WhisperRoom. That's not something everybody can use, but if you can afford one, it's definitely worth it, because you get to practice your saxophone in your apartment without losing any of your notes, and that's really, really valuable. Okay, this is my WhisperRoom. This is where I spend most of my time when I'm playing saxophone. This WhisperRoom is the ideal solution for playing saxophone in an apartment because you can play your saxophone just like you'd play it anywhere else, open air. You get all of your notes, all of your low notes work properly. It just feels natural. So if you're playing in your WhisperRoom, this is what it would sound like if someone was in there with you. If I have to practice early in the morning, I'm in here with my saxophone and the SaxMute One, and that gets it quiet enough that the neighbor won't hear me at all. At the bottom of the SaxMute One, there's a little notch, and that's really for the Hercules stand. You can put it on a stand to keep it off your shoulders. The way I like to use this is to run a cable through. So I run my microphone cable through the bottom there. Okay, so I have the SaxMute One hooked up now. I have the cable running out of the bottom. I have my headphones on. I can hear everything that I'm playing, so that allows me to play even quieter. That way nobody can hear me if I'm in the WhisperRoom and playing the SaxMute One hooked up. Obviously you can hook up the SaxMute One without being in a WhisperRoom. That'll allow you to play quieter as well, because you can hear everything so well. Without headphones, you might be compensating for the volume that you can't hear, so you'll end up playing at the same level anyway, even though you have the SaxMute One. So putting on these headphones is a huge advantage. Allows you to play really quietly and you can hear everything perfectly. So a huge advantage to working this way is that you can run your entire practice session through your audio recorder. So what I like to do is use my cell phone and I play my backing tracks and I practice along with that. I can use my metronome, I plug it into my metronome and I hear everything through my headphones. That way I can practice really quietly and hear everything at the same time. You can also feel free to run your sound through any pedals that you have and then into your audio recorder. That way you can make your full sound, all while making no sound at all. If you'd like to get a SaxMute One for yourself, I have a link in the description below, so you can actually get it a little bit cheaper by using that link when you go to get one. I also have links to other equipment that I love to use, so you can check that out as well in the description below. For soprano saxophone players, right now there's no proper way to mute your saxophone, so the WhisperRoom is still the best option that I can think of. But SaxMute One is going to make a soprano saxophone mute pretty soon, so that's something you can look forward to in the future. If you're interested in getting a soprano saxophone, but you're not sure yet if you really want to do it, I made a video about the top 5 things that you should know before you get a soprano saxophone. So you can get that by clicking the link in the description, the comment section, or clicking the link on the screen here. I'll see you there.